Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Cosmic Consciousness with Kassia. On this channel, we discuss all aspects of the ascension process. And today we're going to be talking about the Venus retrograde in Leo. And I am trying to slow down my speech a little bit because sometimes I get going really fast here, as you all know. So welcome to everyone who's coming back. Welcome to anybody who's new. If you have not yet, hit that like button. Get that out of the way right out the gate as we get going here. And if you are new, hit that subscribe button as well. If you enjoy the vibe, then welcome to the tribe. All right, so let's talk about this, you guys. Venus retrograde in Leo. Venus retrograde kicks off on the 22nd as the sun enters the sign of Leo. So this is a really interesting way to be beginning Leo season. It is a very strong date as well, 7/22 being really a portal date, and one of these dates that we've been talking about when we talk about the recoding of the matrix with the binary code. And the now with the 3 added to the 1s, the 2s, and the 0s, the creation of the new earth, of the new crystalline matrix, as that is really less being created and more coming back online, I guess you could say. So the 7 being our spiritually auspicious number, 72223, kicking off this Venus retrograde. Venus, something that I'm coming to appreciate about her as I've been studying the star point, as we are, of course, hitting a Venus star point during this Venus retrograde, as we always do. And I've been studying the pattern that Venus makes as she moves through the sky, right? This beautiful sacred geometry that she creates, the pentagram, the Venus rose, whatever you want to call it. This beautiful fractal, this beautiful design, this beautiful sacred geometry in accordance with the Fibonacci sequence, in accordance with the golden ratio, right? The golden mean, which all represents creation and ways that we can mathematically understand creation, right? I really feel her as the divine mother energy. And I see, even when we're looking at the cycles of Venus, right? They break it down into 8-year cycles, which create this beautiful rose or pentagram in the sky, which are broken down into 4-year cycles, which are broken down into 19-month cycles, which are broken down into 9.5-month cycles. And so the 9.5 months is the amount of time it takes from Venus to move from one star point to another. And then the 19 months is what it takes from her to move from retrograde to direct back into a retrograde star point. And so they don't call them retrograde star points, so they call them, somebody help me out here, something inferior and superior conjunctions, right? And so each of these star points, just to clarify for those who don't know, are when Venus comes into conjunction with the sun, either behind or in front of the sun during this conjunction. And so tracing back, right, the cycles, 19 months, 9.5. That 9.5 I felt really interesting because that is essentially about the amount of time that it takes a baby to be fully developed, to be conceived, developed, and birthed. So just really fascinating stuff here as far as that divine mother energy. Venus, of course, representing the goddess, representing the divine feminine already. So I feel her, especially as we move through the ascension, because remember, everything is going through an upgrade. Everything is up-leveling, so to speak. And so every single planet in our solar system is going to get an upgrade to their energy as well. And they're going to represent slightly different things as we move through this gateway, right? Because they're all getting that extra juice, so to speak. So I really feel that Venusian energy as representing that beautiful divine mother energy. And I really, really love that and everything that sort of suggests or it can possibly represent for us. So as we're looking at these cycles, and before we get going with the rest of this, I do want to say, because I didn't state it yet, we begin at 28 degrees of Leo and we finish at 12 degrees, 12 minutes of Leo, 1212, right? Another fun number on 9323. So moving through with those 3s again, right? The sequencing of numbers there. And Venus will begin her retrograde, conjunct true black moon Lilith, trine the north node and sextile the south node right? So once again, an up-leveling of our divine feminine energy with true black moon Lilith in the mix, really liberating us, breaking. There's going to be an energy with this Venus retrograde of busting through taboos, of anywhere where the feminine represses themselves, really taking that energy, taking ownership of that energy back, speaking up, speaking out. Remember, this is Leo, so this is very extroverted energy, very expressive energy. So that's going to be really beautiful to see. And as Leo, or Venus rather, completes her retrograde at 12/12 Leo, she will be conjunct Juno and square Jupiter in Taurus. And we're going to see Venus meeting up with Jupiter in these squaring positions a few times. I want to say 3 times between the pre-shadow and the post-shadow period. So really interesting, this square with Jupiter here. And also the conjunction with Juno, right, which is the planet of partnership and marriage, showing us that there's going to be a lot. I feel like this Venus retrograde really moving through and assisting us in clearing a lot of themes and a lot of patterns that prevent us from really finding true lasting love and partnership in this lifetime. And that really culminated with that opportunity to really know ourselves better, to know what we want in a partner, and to have cleared out some of the debris, if you will, that get in the way of us being able to really experience that and live that out in this physical reality. The shadow period for Venus will end on October 7th, another 7 coming in there, 10/7/23 at 2:22 Pacific time. So the 222. Now let's get back to what we were talking about here. If I can retrace in my mind, we're talking about the Venus star point. We're talking about the Venus cycles. Yes. And so the Venus star point, which is this conjunction that happens during every Venus retrograde, as it hits one of these star points, one of these 5 star points, which is these 5 points in the zodiac, where the Venus is conjunct the sun. And she moves through these 5 points. These are the only points where Venus will conjunct the sun. And it happens in this perfect pattern. And gradually over time, the degrees of the conjunctions move backwards. So eventually the star points slowly shift over time. Like we saw last year, the first Venus star point since, they said in history, but it would really be, because this is infinite, right? Think of a pentagram, think of the energy of this, sacred geometry, fractals, it's ever repeating, right? It's an infinite cycle. And so infinitely, right? We've had a Venus star point in Libra, but since we've been recording and paying attention to this process, I think is really what they meant to say, we have not seen one. So we had that last year as Venus entered that 29 degree of Libra point, and we'll be sort of buffering back and forth between 0 degrees of Scorpio and 29 degrees of Leo, as she was in Scorpio before as one of her points. And I almost want to do a separate video for you guys talking about the many faces of Venus, because I was really feeling that as I was looking at the star point and these 5 points that she's currently hitting in these 5 different zodiac signs as like the different main expressions of her energy that we're experiencing currently. And so we have one in Capricorn, we have one in Aries, we have one in Leo, we had one in Scorpio, which is now in the process of transitioning into Libra. And then we have one in Gemini. So these are the energies, the different faces of Venus. And of course she will move through all 12 zodiac signs, right? But these are like the main expressions and ways that she's expressing her energy right now. So if you guys think that would be a fun video to do, we could do a video about that, because I think it's really interesting. The Venus star point and the whole energy of it is so beautiful and complex. And there seems to be a lot of debate surrounding like what exact point of that 8-year cycle we're in right now. Different types of astrologers seem to say different things, and I couldn't really get a whole lot of anybody really coming right out and saying like this is where we are in this cycle currently. So I found that really fascinating. If anybody has more information on that, definitely drop it in the description box below. Actually, I think I had asked a friend of mine, and I'm checking to see if they No, I don't think they know either. So I just wanted to see if they had responded anything to just so quickly there about that. Yeah, it's super funny. But the way that I look at it, right, is like we said, if I just said this, I apologize, you guys. I'm, new mom, operating on still kind of low sleep. You know how the brain goes. I find it's an infinite cycle. So is there really a beginning and an end? Just like anything. However, regardless of what you think about that, we can be assured that Venus has come to this star point in Leo before. And so there's two times, the two most recent times I'm going to discuss for you guys. They would be August of 2019 and August of 2015. So you can look back at these 4-year cycles here and see, think what was going on for you in August of 2019 in relation to relationships, to self-love and self-worth, to finances, creativity, all these things that Venus represents. Your experience and expression of your own divine feminine energy. And what was going on back in 2015? And has there been a trajectory of energy here? Has there been a growth of energy? And where are you at now in 2023 in relation to that cycle? The next Venus star point that we are going to hit is going to be in June of 2024 in the sign of Gemini, by the way, at 13 degrees of Gemini. But looking back at this again, this star point that we're discussing now in Leo at 20 degrees of Leo, I believe it's 20 degrees of Leo, will occur on the 13th of August. And this will be the completion of a 19-month cycle. That much I can tell you. I can't tell you exactly where we are in the 8-year cycle, but I can tell you that a 19-month cycle just completed. Every time Venus goes into retrograde, she has completed a 19-month cycle, right? And so that's really powerful. So we can look back on that as well 19 months ago. During the last Venus retrograde, what was going on? What were we experiencing? All right, and are there any repeating themes? Have we made any progress in the areas that we may have been looking into during the last Venus retrograde? And if my calculations are exact here, or correct, it would appear that the last Venus retrograde happened in January of 2022. In the sign of Capricorn. So, some food for thought there. Oh, I have more dates to give you guys. Sorry, this is my second video of the day. I'm a little bit, I don't know. You guys, you love me. You understand me. It's fine. Anybody who's new, I mean, if I'm driving you nuts right now, or you're offended because you feel like I'm jumping all over the place, or I'm not knowledgeable enough for you, or something like that, then this may not be the place for you. All right, I have the dates here, and I'm gonna be totally transparent and let you guys know that I did not have time to corroborate all these dates, so I'm using a cheat sheet. So if the person who wrote this article is inaccurate, I apologize for that. Just like with anything in life, when we're presented with information, we want to do our own fact checking. We want to check with our resonance, and we also want to check with any sources that we may have as well. So the responsibility for that is on each and every individual. Let's see. So we had our pre-shadow period, and during the pre-shadow period, Venus squared the nodes of destiny, the nodes getting a lot of action. I just did the new moon video, new moon in Cancer. If you guys didn't check that out, definitely do. Those are big themes and energies that we're still working with. And we had a lot of action with the nodes going on there as well. A grand cross, cardinal grand cross happening with Pluto as well. As we know, the nodes are squaring Pluto and will be for the next I don't know, as long as Pluto's not a fast mover, but the nodes will move on, not too long of a time here, but for a little bit of time still. You know, for the rest of this year, we will be feeling that square between the nodes and Pluto, I do believe. So we had that action going on. We have that square between Jupiter in Taurus and Venus retrograde that we talked about, that we're starting out this retrograde with. It also happened on June 11th. So June 11th, 6/11, 7/22, and then 9/17, September 17th. That will be during the post shadow period. There will be another square with Jupiter and Taurus. So this is really amplifying our emotions, right? Amplifying the energies. Perhaps what I'm feeling this energy doing for us during the Venus retrograde is, if there's something that we haven't noticed that we need to pay attention to, that energy is going to be expanded during these squares with Jupiter in Taurus, so that we have to look at it. So it really catches our attention. So go back to the time period around June 11th if you can. I mean, like we know, time has been such a funny thing, the way it's been functioning, the way it's been working, everything going on there. It's just, it's really a trip, you know, and it's hard to keep track of that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you remember what you were doing on June 11th, but if you do, you can perhaps see and notice some themes that came up around that time. And definitely be on the lookout now as we approach the 22nd and the beginning of Leo season in this Venus retrograde for what is glaringly obvious and kind of in your face, related to themes of relationships, money, finances. Well, I said that really aggressively, huh? It's going to feel like an aggressive energy. Faith, ideals, belief, different things like that too, that Jupiter represents, looking at these things. It's an interesting energy in general, I think, because Jupiter wants to expand, right? But in the sign of Taurus, it wants to do it in a strategic way, in a slow and steady way. And Venus in Leo is not about that. Venus in Leo really wants to just like kind of explode, to be that energy that just kind of walks in and captures all the attention in the room, right? She wants to take charge. She wants to take action. She wants to go. And so we can see the tension in the energies there. And then, so pay attention to what themes are coming up that the Spirit really wants you to look at around the 22nd when this retrograde begins, and then you'll get kind of a recap of those energies, and they may get brought up again. So definitely be on the lookout for repeating themes as we move through September, mid-September, the 17th there being the exact day. Let's see, what other dates do we want to know? Venus and Uranus making a tense aspect on August 9th, so right after, during the energies of that 8/8 portal, Lionsgate portal, and then also on the 30th of September. And Uranus will be retrograde during the 30th. They'll be in a square on the in September as Venus moves through her post-shadow period. So there's a lot of push and pull there, a tug of war once again with Uranus also in the sign of Taurus, right? This is where we're wanting that change, we're wanting that rebellion. But there's an aspect of us that's wanting to do it in a very deliberate way. And there's an aspect of us that is really impatient with that energy. And there's just, it's like that energy, it's an energy of power struggles. It's an energy of like, where are we feeling, really bringing to the surface and showing us where it is that we feel constrained, constricted, or held back. And remember, with Venus beginning this retrograde conjunct true black moon Lilith, that energy of where it is that we feel held back is really taking the forefront. And it's interesting because during the new moon in Cancer video, we talked about this energy of where we've suppressed and repressed our emotions, and just the power of that, like, the collective energy of that, right? Where the masculine and the feminine have been taught and trained to repress and suppress their emotions. And just like the way that Spirit talked about it was like this dam that's created, and all of this repressed emotion is building up against it, and those floodgates opening. So I think these are dates as well. We're going to begin it with that new moon in Cancer, and then we're going to see these repeating on these dates where we have Uranus and Venus talking in conversation, right? Where those are going to be big release points for that energy as well, where we're noticing what energy is still being pent up that needs to be released. This is the days where you can expect the unexpected, right? And of course, around that Lionsgate portal, we're going to be already expecting the unexpected. All right. And I love how Venus retrograde lasts for 44 days, all right? So we get another beautiful repeating number there. Starting on the 22nd, 22 doubled is 44. Let's see, talked about the Venus star point. During the post-shadow period, as the retrograde ends, or a month after the retrograde ends to be exact, Venus will once again aspect the nodes. And so it starts with the pre-shadow and ends during the post-shadow with this aspecting of the nodes, really bringing in, it's like activating everything within us and the outer circumstances that will bring about what we need to see and understand within, that needs to be activated in order for us to move forward. Everything this year, especially where we're looking at this primary powerful energy, ongoing energy this year of Pluto squaring the nodes, right? Changing signs. The nodes and Pluto changing signs and squaring, right? Because the nodes have just shifted on the day of the new moon, the nodes will shift into Aries and Libra. All right, so they will be in Aries and Libra during this Venus retrograde. It's that shifting of energies, that changing of the guard, so to speak. This powerful closure energy, right? Pluto in a retrograde, moving for a final time back into Capricorn. Currently at 29 degrees of Capricorn, that anaretic degree, as the nodes move into 29. And I want to look during this Venus retrograde. I want to take a little peek here and see if the nodes are still, they may be at like 28 or something like that. 29 still when Venus retrograde begins, right? So the nodes at the anaretic degree as well. But this energy of Pluto square the nodes carrying us through this year. So there's a lot we already know with fate and dharma, karma and dharma. The south node representing karma, representing the past, the north node representing dharma, representing our life path, the future, where we're headed. All right? Soul mission, soul purpose, soul growth. We know that's a focus, and we can see this activation as all these aspects of our being, right? Receive these activations and move through these energy of the nodes. So Venus doing that as well, before and after this retrograde. All right. I want to actually take a look at one more thing while we're doing this here. I'm at the beginning here. Yeah. I was just double checking something there. All right, you guys, I think that's pretty sufficient as far as the discussion of the Venus retrograde energies go. We know the days to look out for. All right, the 13th, of course, with that Venus star point conjunction of the Sun and Venus being the most powerful. Looking over, I guess we could talk a little bit more before we get into the cards, just about the energy of Venus retrograde itself. As we're really moving through these themes, these Venusian themes with the Leo flavor and energy to them, all right? And so when we're looking at love and relationships, we're also looking at our need for validation, All right, our ability to express ourselves openly and honestly in relationships. Where it is that we may edit ourselves in order to be loved and accepted. Where it is that we may excessively require validation. Leo energy likes to be appreciated. It needs that reflection back from others of its greatness, right? The reflection that Leo receives from others is a key aspect of its confidence, their confidence, all right? And so it's like understanding those things within ourselves, understanding where it is that we may require more self-love, understanding the ways that we share our love in relationships, that we give love. Leo is a big hearted energy. Leo energy is all about the heart. So we're really working with and understanding the ways, like we said, that we give and receive love. We're working with the inner child as well, the healing of the inner child. Leo very much representing that energy. And it's just a really big, beautiful energy, but also a very sensitive energy. All right, so we're looking at the ways that it's like our soft spots. And the ways that people hurt us, the ways that we respond to that, the ways that we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and the ways that we perhaps avoid becoming vulnerable because we want to avoid the sting of rejection, the sting of being hurt. So there's a lot of different themes that we're moving through with this Venus and Leo energy. All right. Clear. And Venus and Leo is really asking us to get comfortable in the spotlight, too. Clear. So we're going to start with the Dark Mirror Oracle because I want to get into the shadow aspects of this Venus retrograde. Tell me what shadow energies we want to look out for and be aware of during Venus retrograde 2023. Remember, Venus retrograde begins conjunct true black moon Lilith. All right? The feminine shadow, the dark side of the feminine, the wounded feminine, so to speak. So we are perhaps going to be looking at some more traditionally scorpionic type themes as well, right? Betrayal, vengeance, the dark side of love and lust, right? Possessiveness. All right. So we have triumph of lies coming out with downcast pride. So this is all about the lies we tell ourselves, the lies that we tell each other, where it is that we tell those little white lies in order to keep the peace, right? In order to not hurt somebody's feelings. And it's like, who determines what's a white lie and what's not? You know, sometimes it's like people get dicey around lying too, right? For a really long time, even I had some really suspect morals for a long time, you guys, in my youth. It was that whole idea of like what people know doesn't hurt them, or what people don't know won't hurt them. You know, and this idea of like some people don't consider, if nobody's getting hurt because nobody knows anything, nobody's any the wiser, they look at that as that they're not doing anything wrong, right? And some people look at it like omitting the truth is not a lie. All right, they take it; it's very literal, right? As long as the literal words that I speak are truth, it doesn't matter if they're covering up something that I don't want somebody to know, or if I'm spinning things in a certain way, right? In order to color someone's perception. All right, so it's like coming face to face with all of that. Are we as honest as we think we are? Where are those little white lies perhaps catching up to us? Those little omissions of truth. And are some of these lies and some of these half-truths or omissions related to us really wanting to maintain our status, our reputation, wanting to look a certain way in somebody else's eyes, right? Is our pride preventing us from being honest with ourselves or others? And the quote for Downcast Pride says, bending to adapt becomes an excuse for the habit of bending. And I'm going to read a little bit of this one for you guys. It says, survival is a direct consequence of adaptation. What we call adaptation is not the result of a subtle but constantly constructive change of ourselves, but rather a mockery of it, as we strip day by day of our dignity in order to avoid conflict with a world that would spread us apart. How can we endure this? Maybe through the power of responsibility, or through a hidden core of identity. Sometimes we don't use the best part of us, but rather we draw from the ugliest. We survive and bend our knees because we draw out from our laziness, fear, and disgust. We let our deepest roots go dry, replaced by what can only be called a surge of lack of self-esteem. We are deluded when we think that we are only sacrificing our pride. We cling to vanity, but we can't afford dignity. Isn't that sad? Honestly, the true delusion is our faith in fall and winter, while we discard spring and summer as fairy tales. The sky can change color too, as long as we sometimes look up. We can notice. So that's pretty brutal, huh? Out of this book here. So this is really about like speaking, coming out and speaking our truth. No longer lying about who we are, what we think, what we need, what we want, what we feel in order to placate others. No longer being a chameleon and just going along with the crowd because we'd rather be swept up in a crowd that we don't relate to, that we don't connect with, than be alone, right? What else? What other shadow energy is coming up during this Venus retrograde? Yeah, obsession, like we said, the dark side of the feminine there, dark side of love. Alone in the world, naked before the stars, and perchance to dream. Interesting. So there's an energy of vulnerability here, right? A need to get vulnerable. For some of us, it's like a need to stand on our own 2 feet. Like maybe we need to be alone for a little while because we've spent too much time wrapped up in other people. To the point where we don't even know who we are anymore because we've done so much bending. Right? Naked before the stars, this is about perfectionism. This is about looking in the mirror and liking what we see. It's about comparing ourselves to others. Especially like when we're looking at, in this world of social media, and this world where people present this false front, right? This energy, I use this quote fairly often, comparing our insides to somebody else's outsides. It's like, are we doing that? Where are we looking out into the world, observing, measuring ourselves against, and deciding that we are unworthy? And what are the behaviors that result from that? Right? That's where the need for validation comes in. That's where the people pleasing comes in. That's where the codependency comes in. That's where the agreeing, going with the flow. Right? In the negative connotation of the word, where we're just being swept up by the crowd, compromising ourselves in order to please others, in order to be what we think we need to be. And the whole time we're doing this, we still just feel alone, right? When we're somewhere that we don't belong, we can be in a crowd of people and still feel completely alone. Right? If we're disconnected. Let's see. Okay, this is some people are not going to like this. All right, these 3 cards here. This is a realization that some people are going to be having, especially people who believe they're on a twin flame journey. Some who are disillusioned in believing that. Some people may be realizing that the person, the twin flame connection you thought that you perceived is actually a toxic karmic partnership, or whatever fancy words we want to use for whatever type of connection this is that needs to be broken off. There's people who have been waiting for someone for quite some time, thinking this person is your twin flame or your other half, or thinking for whatever reason that you're meant to be with this person. You've actually developed an obsession, like even to the point where you're seeing them in your dreams. And perhaps even for some of you, it's like you do have a relationship in the astral realms, but in the physical realms, it's just not happening. And there's going to come a point during this Venus retrograde where you realize you can spend your life physically alone, pining after this person, perhaps being with them in the non-physical, but never actually coming through in the physical realm, or you can move on. And for some people, this is like your twin flame that you haven't even met yet. For others of you, or like something like that, it's like it's a fantasy regardless. Whether you've met this person in real life or not, whether you've had a relationship or not. Some of you guys, it's like you know them, but nothing's actually happened between the two of you, and you keep believing that it's going to, but it's not. And I hate to be so blunt like this. I know this is a really sensitive subject. Or if it is, it's not going to happen while you are so attached to it happening. All right, so it's like during this Venus retrograde, you realize that you need to let this go. That you've been so caught up in the fantasy that this has become your reality. And you don't have to be alone. There's plenty of beautiful soulmates and powerful connections for you out there. But you got to let go of the fantasy. You got to let go of the one. For some of you guys, the one that got away. For some of you, the one that never was. And for others of you, the one that perhaps never will be. All right? And some of you guys, it's like clear. I feel like for somebody watching this too, you have true love right in front of you. But you're never going to recognize it because you're hung up on somebody else, on a fantasy that will never be a reality. While the reality of what you actually want, need, and will fulfill you and make you happy is standing right in front of you, waiting for you to notice them. Clear? For some of you guys, this person is married. This person that you are in this fantasy relationship with. And it's like this Venus retrograde is when you decide to trade the fantasy for reality. Which, even though it may be painful, is going to be a beautiful and liberating experience. Clear. All right. Do we want to lighten up the mood here a little bit? That was pretty heavy. Let's pull a couple romance angel cards because there's a lot of love energy surrounding this this Venus retrograde. And then we're gonna pull a couple cards for finance, career. Clear. Let's pull some cards for love for this Venus retrograde. Any other messages surrounding love and romance relationships? Venus retrograde 2023 guidance. Codependency. Addictions are affecting your romantic life. All right, right there. We've talked about that. Some people, it's like somebody that you love. It's like a literal addiction that somebody is suffering from. For some of you guys, it's the addiction. The codependency is the addiction. But for others, there's like somebody who has a serious addiction, a partner or a loved one. And there's like a make it or break it moment with that, where you have to decide, are you willing to continue enabling this person? Some of you guys, it's like they may have just gotten clean from whatever their drug of choice was, and doesn't have to be necessarily like a substance to be a drug of choice. Anything can be a drug of choice, right? Whatever it is that we're filling that void with, filling that hole with, that emptiness, compulsively, right? Compulsion is one of the main factors of addiction. For some, this person has just put down the addiction, but that's a really rough transition period. And so it's a lot of people have difficulty being in a relationship when they're first in those early stages of recovery. It's too much pressure, too much intensity. They don't have the time and energy because they're pouring that into their recovery. Or the relationship becomes very unhealthy because they hyper-focus their energy on that. So it's like maybe when this person was using whatever their drug was, right? They were kind of like, oh, this is an interesting scenario coming through here. They were kind of aloof, right? They blew you off a lot. They broke plans. And you kind of got used to them being this way. And you don't want to admit that there was some kind of a turn on for that kind of an energy. And now all of a sudden, once they get clean, they're all about you. They want to spend tons of time with you. They want to shower you in attention, maybe even gifts. They get kind of almost clingy. And it's like you're totally turned off by that energy because you're used to them being the way they were before. That's interesting for somebody. Yeah. So you need to encourage them to find some other supports. They may also be like leaning on you heavily because they don't have enough of a support system. Get them to find a support system and get them to find ways to channel and pour their energy into things that are not just you. All right. And definitely use protection if you are engaging in certain behaviors with this person, because I feel like there's like a lot of fertility energy too. And you just, if you're not trying to do that right now, nobody really wants to have a baby with an addict who's brand spanking new in recovery. It's rarely a good situation. It's also a recipe for relapse for them. So just a little pro tip there, so to speak. Let's see. Then we have new love. Make the effort and keep an open mind. So this is a message too for people that some people are going to be meeting somebody during Venus retrograde that really stirs you in your feels. All right? And this person may be different from the kind of person that you're used to dating, which is probably a good thing. All right? So don't count somebody out just because they're not your typical type. Be open to new experiences. And I feel like for some people, it's like there's going to be a little bit of effort required as far as like maybe your schedules are difficult to like they're not complementary to each other. Maybe they have kids or you have kids, and that makes it a little more difficult. Maybe there's just some sort of challenge or obstacle, but it's worth finding a solution to. All right? And it's worth opening up to, too. For some of you guys, it's like the effort that's required isn't anything like that. It's literally just about you making the effort to open up. Perhaps you making the first move. I feel like somebody, it's like you're supposed to be learning how to make the first move instead of waiting for them. All right. Clear. So this Venus retrograde is about identifying and noticing where you have, where old behaviors are popping up and trying something new instead. All right. Let's see here. What do I want to close with for you guys? Oh, we were going to do finances, career, life path. Excuse me. We're going to do some traditional Rider-Waite Tarot here. Clear. Let's get some energy here. Let's get a read on finances, career, life path. Venus Retrograde 2023. Creativity. All the other beautiful energies. I feel like some people during this Venus Retrograde too, especially when we have those link-ups with Uranus, some people are really going to want to be going for some new looks too. Like haircuts, different hair colors, I feel, for some people. Just different ways of playing with your look and appearance so that you just to kind of like mix things up, so to speak. And it's also like this understanding, we're going to be understanding that balance of like, you know, when you look good, you feel good, you know? And so I personally think it's kind of silly sometimes when people act like if you take care of your appearance, that means you're vain, right? Like people who are spiritually centered, so to speak, shouldn't care about what they look like and shouldn't care about appearance at all. I think that that's just absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, when you look good, you feel good, and that means different things to different people. And some people really enjoy playing with their aesthetics. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's like understanding where that line is, where it's like, where is this an unhealthy obsession where I literally have no value for myself except for the outer, right? And where is it that perhaps I could tinker a little bit with the outer to help accentuate the inner, right? The self-love. All right, like how could I spoil myself and do things that make me feel more like the god or goddess that I am, right? That kind of an energy. All right, we got the Lovers as the first card out, Gemini energy. So this is supposed to be career and finance. So interesting. Tell me more. Why is the Lovers here? Is this decisions in career? Decisions in finance? Why is the Lovers here for career and finance? Nine of Wands. Hierophant. So I feel like somebody's going to be offered an opportunity to advance in career. But it's like you're not sure if you want to take it. It's almost like you feel like the opportunity is too good to be true is what I feel like for some people. Or you don't trust it for some reason. Your defenses are up. Tell me some more here. Perhaps for some of you guys, it's like it feels like indoctrination, or it feels like you're being, it's like you're going into a field that doesn't necessarily resonate perhaps with what you feel and sense spiritually, maybe for some people. We got the King of Pentacles here though. So this is a lucrative offer. Yeah, very lucrative. Wheel of Fortune here, too. Taurus energy with the Hierophant. Also King of Pentacles, Earth energy. So really strong Taurus energy here. But it feels less to me like this goes against your morals and values for most people. And it feels more like you don't trust this. It's like there's an energy coming up, and this is where the self-worth energy is rising to the surface again. Do you feel worthy of this? Do you feel confident in your ability? Do you feel like you deserve this level of financial freedom? This level of recognition, of achievement? Or and it's like there's energy of losses in the past or like betrayals in the past influencing how you feel right now. And it's like the realization and the understanding of that is what's key here. Seeing from that new perspective. So it's like taking that pause to really look within. What is my resistance here? What is the fear? Is there a fear? Right? And ensuring that you don't make a decision and turn something down over unfounded fears or fears based in past situations. Because you can have it all. All right, your intentions, your dreams and desires, what you set out to fulfill. This, if it isn't the fulfillment of that, it's a big step in that direction, but you have to know that you deserve it. The universe is saying you have plenty of options. All right? Like you don't have to take this offer. But it's almost like for some of you guys, it's a reality check of like, is this what I really want? Now that I'm being offered either what it is that I want or a major stepping stone to get there, what's the resistance about? Is this not truly what I desire? And some people are going to see that it's actually not. Some of you are going to take this offer and then realize it's not. And then for some of you guys, it is exactly like we said, it is exactly what you want. But like, what's your resistance to your own dreams, the fulfillment of your own dreams? You got the Six of Cups, the past, right? It's connected to your past. Look to your past and you'll find the answers. Past life for some of you guys, many current life, the past in this current life. But this is your Ten of Pentacles for many of you. Ace of Cups on the bottom of the deck. It was inverted, but I'm feeling upright. All right. Got the Five of Pentacles. Interesting. You decide, right? You can stay stuck in this scarcity mentality and this lack mentality, or you can rise above it by knowing that you're worth it and you deserve it. And one way or another, this is great, right? Because if you accept this offer and you realize that what you wanted isn't what you actually want anymore, then you know and you can let go of that dream and work toward a new one. And if it is what you always wanted, then you've got what you want, right? One way or the other, you're learning and growing and you're able to move forward. And that's what's really important here. Yeah, talking about moving forward, Chariot. All right. I think that's a beautiful way to end this reading. I love you all so very much. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and let me know. If you are new to this channel and you're enjoying the content here, then go ahead and hit that bell with the little squigglies so you get all the notifications and you are subscribed. If you would like a personal reading, energy healing, any of the different things that I offer, go ahead and shoot me an email. Check out my website. It is out of construction as I am currently adding on new services. So stay posted for that. You guys are beautiful. I appreciate you so much. I'll talk to you soon.